I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll continue here with a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Next then is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, just approval then.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on then with reports.
Kelly's on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mrs.
Oh,
Huntley.
and Kelly's in.
Yes, she is. She was from the beginning.
Yep, now I do.
I don't have anything to add to my written report unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver.
I'd just like to remind you, the board, we are planning to go ahead with an 8th grade promotion at Paxico like normal. We're eliminating our 7th grade awards that evening to kind of cut down on that crowd. We're going to be able to allow each family 10 tickets, and we've asked them if they're not using those 10, all 10, to turn them back, and then we'll listen to other families that would like to bring additional. So mark your calendar for that night. If you plan on attending, please let us know, and we'll make sure we have a chair for you. But other than that, I'm good unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Quigley.
I have nothing further to add to my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Josh, you got anything?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. That moves us down to appearance before the board. You're up.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Joseph.
So yeah, I wanted to. I guess I'll just stand here. Talk about. I'm like to talk about the school that's actually right across from our house, and I know that it's being debated whether it's going to be what its future is going to be. I'm here on the assumption that it will be discontinued as a school, and so I'm interested in using it as a tool for economic development within Paxico and Wabaunsee County. My business is a growing business. This is something that would work really, really well for what we're wanting to do with our business. We import a beer out of Germany, and it's, actually has Paxico on the back label. It's a very, very special beer. It's a 500-year-old brewery. And it's been having a lot of success everywhere we go with it. We're in 4 states now. We're looking at expanding into probably, we'll be in probably 7 states before the end of the year, bringing on some pretty powerful sales personnel to help with that expansion. The success we're having is terrific. So the response is very, very good from the consumers. It's set for a solid, steady growth moving forward. And I would love for Paxico to be the hub of that growth, a place where we could really call home for the brand, as it currently is on the label, to actually give it a home there in Paxico. We're looking at hiring people. We want to start doing direct-to-consumer sales in states where that is possible. So there are probably, I think there are about 10 states right now where you can actually do direct-to-consumer sales. That'd be a great option to get into if we had the space to do something like that. Everything's set up to do that. I just don't have the space right now to be able to pursue that project. And then, we're looking at, we do a lot of a lot of videography, lots of, for social media and so on. Again, a great place for that type of work, especially with the fact that there's a kitchen there. Now you can talk about doing pairings, food and beer pairings, with right there in Paxico at the school. And yeah, I mean, ultimately we're going to need office workers. We're going to need, Guler's not going to be the only brand. We're going to be bringing on other brands as well. I already have a couple of them in the pipeline that I'm working towards, but we're going to get serious about bringing on other brands in the next couple of years as well. So, we're looking at, again, some solid growth. We're going to need help, people coming in and working with us, employed with this business. And I would love for that to be in Paxico. So I wanted to put that out there as a great option for the school. It could go many, many different ways. It could be, it could become something that as, people, in Paxico, as residents of Paxico, we may not want it to be something. We certainly don't want it to be abandoned. Wouldn't want it to be just demolished. If it could actually be a source of, great interest and income for the area, I think that's a win-win. So that's my proposal.
Great, thank you. Any questions or feedback for him at this point? Okay, thanks for coming, we appreciate it, and we are continuing to figure out plans for how we're going to approach that facility, and everyone will know as we get those plans put in stone. Everybody will find out our communication process, so you'll be in the know as to what happens with it and when it's time to do something with it.
Perfect. And if any of you want to ever talk with me about it and kind of understand what my business is and how we're building it out, please reach out, and love to talk with you. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Business card.
Joseph, you're welcome to stick around as long as you want to, but if you have other things to do, you're more than welcome to leave at this point as well. So.
Thanks, Joseph.
Okay, moving on then to the consent agenda. Any discussion?
There you go.
Hearing none, I just need a motion to approve.
I so
Okay. Tony moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kelly? It's been moved and seconded. All those opposed, say aye, please. Motion carried. All right, moving on to old and new business, bond facilities.
I'll pull this up here. Jim Colligan is here, and to discuss some things regarding ASA and his phase one, and an updated strategic plan is set for everybody to see and is up on the board. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Jim, and I'll let Keely that she is no longer needed.
Appreciate what she does.
Huh?
That's a cool deal still for the FCCLA.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, everybody has a copy, I assume. Thank you for the opportunity. We talked in February, gave me a lot of time to share a PowerPoint, and my partner Jim Dinas, introduced him, was on. Last week we got to touch base a little bit, tag along behind the engineering, which we do. We work a lot with the engineering. And so tonight I thought, let's just cut to the chase. I want to give you a proposal for the research phase of what we do. That's the front end. The back end is marketing, and that's often a bigger one because it's longer and involves a lot of additional work. This one's very important. You've already looked at the backside when we hand out a sheet to the kids. Well, they always go to the backside first and see what's going on. So we give you a price back there of $12,200. I've got some extras, Jan. You guys want
Sure.
a copy? You can go ahead and pass it out. I had a wonderful chance to visit each of the school buildings and walk through the high school of Chan last week. Enjoyed it a lot. Always astounded how far it is from Maple Hill to here. It's a long district. And we work with a lot of districts, but when you see the length and size of your district, it's always amazing. But at any rate, compensation, you've seen it there. Let me walk them back through and let's go to the top. Bond research, and we've already talked to you about our past history. I think if you go down to the bold, the influencers in the community can have significant impact on the outcome of the bond, but the registered voters, the people, are the ones that are really going to make your final decision. So what we like to do is get in, help you form a clear plan, and the word sustainable, a plan that will last for years, and one that is going to be the best for your school district, and then test that with voters. There's a lot of ways we can do that. Our research resources, of course, the one that I put here at the top that I really enjoy, and that's working with the architect, engineers, Piper Jaffray, HTK. I know you've got them going. I know you don't have a contractor. I'd love to have a contractor in the room if there's a way to do that so you can work on ideas. I've done about 20-some million of construction myself as owner rep in a similar situation, and with all the change orders and working with them, it really works to have triangulation in the room when you're working with these guys. Starting with the planning, to bidding, through the subs and all of that. So that part of the experience I really enjoy. I love working with the numbers. And that's one of our resources. Another is, of course, open-ended surveys, and you've done some of that. We really enjoy doing that with the patrons, if we can get them. There aren't a lot that we have emails for, but definitely the parents. They're your consumers. They're the people that are really looking for the best school for their children, and to really do a great survey is another input, a research input. Group meetings, of course. I don't like large ones, I like smaller ones. You get a large one and you get maybe a theme going in the room and everybody kind of follows it. A smaller one, people have more chance to express themselves. So more meetings but smaller, I have found is always a great advantage. And then man and women on the street, always enjoy that. Already had a chance to talk to Jim down at the Phillips gas station. And I have to admit I did stop into Long Branch. And there was only one person sitting there, but she happened to be the former mayor and the current clerk for Paxico. So she'd been there since 1975. She graduated from Alma, and her kids had graduated. So that's a great resource. And Jim down there was a farmer just north, and same story. Those are fun, especially at the Long Branch. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I didn't know if they're going to be handling that beer or not. But anyway. And then our coup d'etat, the real thing that's a real plus is our phone survey. And you guys have done some survey work. It's a great, great start. This is just phone poll number 1 for our last poll, which was up at Riley. We delve into about 10 questions here where we ask input on, and we ask not only yes or no, but the why, and to make some choices. We give them their choices. But that comes from our research, so we can get focused. We always have another if they want to put their own in. And then at the end, once they've been warmed up 2, 3, 4 minutes, we get into the open-ended questions and let them talk away. And by that time, they're usually very conversive and get some good opinions. So anyway, we record those opinions. But one of the real sharp parts, and that's Jim's great mind over here, is we cross-tab. So we take the gender, the zip code, are they a parent, are they a patron, what grade are their kids in, and we cross-tab that, and then we can come up with several pages. In fact, that's the majority of our phone surveys. Phone Survey is a company out of Utah. Finally got their pricing today, so I'm sorry I didn't get you the numbers earlier, but I was waiting on their pricing. They took a while to get that done. But then from this, we have a plan that you can take and make it go. Once we're done with that, we feel we're then in a pretty good position to say, this will go, this is how it will go, and this is why it will go. So on the back side, I'll cover deliverables quickly. We help you develop a needs assessment, a clear plan, sustainable plan. We make recommendations to the bond package. We help you develop bond language. That's very clear. I saw your bond language. Certain words, when someone's reading the bond proposal in the voting booth, is a plus or a minus, can be a negative, can be a positive. And then advise on all communications and messaging. Got a timeline here. If we could get going, and I know it's not on your agenda as an action item, but we'd love to be able to get it done in 90 days and then be able to have it done so that then you can start right in the fall. In August, we can start in the fall then with the marketing, and that's an assumption, of course. We'd love to be able to do that. So the last paragraph, when polling is complete, we'll advise district leadership on message format, budget recommendations, communication need to effectively campaign a bond vote that could pass in November. And we'll assist with all recommendations. And I know you get tired of hearing it, but we've been successful 94.4447% of the time. I'm just kidding, 90.4. On the close of this, I work with a lot of school sites where I do research, and off of School Digger, we have an elementary school rated 78 out of 667 in Kansas. And you have a high school that's rated 68 out of 325 in Kansas. And this is a website that partners with Zoho for people who are looking for a school district to move to. So I just want to close with that. Keep that going. If you have a great product, they'll come. This beer purveyor tonight is counting on that. I'm not sure that relates that well, but you understand what I'm saying. You have a great school, great start. Knock it down for the next plan for the next 20, 30 years. Your last bond gets paid off here real quickly. Perfect to hook up and keep the ball rolling. But at any rate, again, I thank you for the opportunity to come, and I'll take any questions, or Jim, the brains will take questions.
Have any questions?
We just listed our bonds. We've done over 200 research projects of all kinds, including governorships and state as well as legislative representatives, etc.
I believe the majority of the board believes that we do need a bond of some sort, and we need to do that by November in order to make sure that we get ourselves set up for success in the future.
November poll is desirable. A regular poll, more people will come out.
And this is an action item for us?
This is an action item for today, correct?
Okay, I didn't see that on your agenda. Sorry about that.
I guess part of my question is if we are hiring you to help us put a plan together that is obviously going to work with the voters, because that's what you do, correct? Work with the voters, you come up with a plan, come back to us, tell us what that plan is, we put it together, and in all intents and purposes, you would believe that that would be a successful bond.
We really want you to
But
be in the lead on helping to make that plan.
yeah,
It's not gonna be any good if we don't have, what you really want is the 7 members out of 7 agreeing on the plan, and that really helps to start the process down the road. But yes, you'll be, it's working with you to get there.
I guess my feedback comes around to our budget. If we had funds available, and I'm not saying we can't make $12,000 available, but every dollar that we spend on this, in my opinion, we take it out of the kids' hands at this point.
True.
And if we spend another $12,000 here and it doesn't pass, what did you gain?
Well, we don't gain much.
What do you gain if it does pass?
We gain,
18 out of 19.
Yeah, but you still gain your $12,000 is my point. Whether we are successful on the end of the game or not, you've still been paid, you still move on, you get your deal and
what,
signed, sealed, delivered, or not delivered.
what you'll get out of it is research results. You'll get a lot of information that will really help you
in your decision process. And remember, this doesn't mean, when we're done, doesn't mean it goes to a vote. We've provided you research and input from your patrons that you'll never have reached this level of input that you'll have. At that point, you'll make a decision. Do we trust these guys? Do we go on with it? And then you start down the road of marketing. At which point, you know, we have a ton of advice there, because that's a big part. That's a strength part too. We look at marketing as not marketing. We look at it as education, teaching, explaining. And people, when they're taught and explained and shown the positives, 9 times out of 10 get that, and they go, I understand that. I may not like that, but I understand that, and I'm open to it now, rather than just fancy stuff or yard signs or whatever, but getting them to really understand it, and that's our job in the second half. But you can stop, yeah, you will not have wasted $12,000. You'll have, we trust $12,000 worth of information and education. And with the help of an architect as well, as I said, I'd love to get a contractor involved, and we can talk about that if we decide to go ahead, because there are ways that you can do that. And they give you a lot of practical advice. You got a lot with your engineer last time, you can keep that ball rolling. From there on, funding, since it's a marketing campaign or a campaign in a way, now you're going to rely on other sourcing, a yes crew, a yes group, an architect, and contractors. All those people now are committed. They're committed, then that's not much money for them to help pay for marketing, to get them the job to be your contractor, be your architect, get paid as an engineer, etc. Yeah, you're right, 12,000. What's your annual budget? You know, and
When it's negative, it doesn't matter if it's 3 billion or it's $1. If it's negative, where's the 12,000 coming from?
I know exactly where you're at. I understand. Yeah.
And we understood that going in, that your smaller district and budget would be a consideration. That research and this service is 18 to 22,000. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but that's the range that we normally would get for this project. And we won't do a project that we don't think we can win. That's just not the way we do business. And we have passed on some for a couple of reasons. People asking us to not, do what we feel is the right way to do it. And with research, particularly in the bias and wording and such, but also if we don't think it's, if there's a way to get it won, we will advise that also.
Yeah.
It's usually a case of a dollar amount and a mix of outcomes that the public would support, that we can give you some certainty about passing the bond. But the only one we lost, the client, Shawnee Heights School District, they had an assistant superintendent that had passed. They'd lost on 3 bonds prior to the time they hired us. We had done 5 bonds, local option budgets, including the Hummer Sports Park was the last one. That's what kind of got us in the business we're in now. But they would not change some wording. They wanted to call it a performing arts center. And it was a rural community, not as rural as yours, but it was a rural community, and they looked at that as extravagant. And in Topeka, there's a performing arts center that had a negative image. So our research said we could pass all 3 of their ballot issues if they would change that performing arts center to an auditorium or a multipurpose entertainment or education and arts center. So, but they refused to do that. The communications director threw a fit because he'd already put out brochures calling it a performing arts center, and a couple of the teachers liked the idea. It's the only one we've ever lost, and we won't do that again because we knew, based on our research, is very precision and crackerjack, and we can give you references with our Chamber of Commerce, the city and the county in Topeka. Everything that they've given us when people said it couldn't be done, we've got it done, including the local option budgets for streets and economic development on 5 occasions now. So we won't do that. We don't do this just to make money. This is not our core business side of it. But when we did the Riley County project, we had other districts calling us, and Jim likes that side of the business. And so we're not out soliciting for it aggressively. We're busy doing what we do with sports marketing for our high schools. But if we take on your project, I have an affinity for discounting and a lot of the people I know from here and around here. So it would be a cause to us if we did it as much as anything.
Any other?
I think it's an impeccable record. That alone kind of speaks for itself. There's a lot that goes into research, into determining whether a bond is going to pass or not. And, I mean, we knew, well, I don't know personally because I wasn't involved through the full process, but some individuals here know what that means, what that takes, the work that needs to go into it for it to succeed. And I don't see our district not being able to, continue to operate without a bond. I think at some level we need something, and it needs to be sustainable. I think a maintenance bond is not an appropriate solution. And I think this is an investment. I think you can look at items that we pay as expenses or investments. And if you see it as an expense, yeah, I can understand that standpoint, but if you see it as an investment, think about what you could get out of it in terms of the long passing. This is virtually nothing that could be wrapped up into the cost of the bond itself if we didn't want to pull that.
Right.
So I just see it as a huge investment that we would be missing out on if we didn't take advantage of it.
Kelly, you have any feedback that you'd like to share?
Sorry, Kelly, we didn't hear you real well. Could you repeat that?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. So I just said I don't have a lot to add to this at this point in time. I think that if we are going to propose another bond issue for November election, we do need some assistance with communication. Can you hear me or not?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I think last time around, we did gain quite a bit of feedback from constituents, but it was only from those who really either didn't want us to do anything or had a vested interest in the bond, and it may not necessarily have been those that voted one way or another. Anyway, so I don't know if, I think we need assistance, but this is a difficult one for me.
Do you have something else, Jim?
No, I was just gonna make sure we had all the, you don't want us to wait here for the, any more wait, that's fine.
I'll move to approve the proposal that ASA has provided us with $12,200.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposal from ASA Communications regarding our future bond proposal. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Alright.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
you're on the payroll.
All right,
Hi, guys.
we're headed to Long Branch.
Look
Heard
forward
it.
to it.
We're not
Thank
even
you.
employees.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, now move, go
I'm sorry.
ahead.
The other part of that is, under the same information in regards to bond and/or facilities, is just, Gail has put together just an example of using the map that's on your tables. And you can see that by moving the line from the blue line there to a red line in the middle there. In other words, basically not having McFarland, but moving the line around McFarland and then having them be headed to Maple Hill. The numbers would look like this as far as projections. And he utilized out of district as well, but there's some things with out of district that we could still talk about. So between 8 to 10 to 12 number of students difference then between Alma Elementary and Maple Hill Elementary. And now projected it would be 44 difference. 108 in Alma, 64 in Maple Hill, including the class of 6 in that second grade. So some things to think about with that. Do you want to move kids down there and then turn around and have a bond and move them again with a projected or possibility of a PK6 at Paxico or some other type of configuration as such? Something to think about that. And so I just want to put that out there, that's a possibility to help in evening out the classes. Because we've been up front with staff and as well as you all about wanting to, as much as possible, have even classes and classrooms for our students and for our staff. So this would allow that to happen. But again, how it fits into a bond and what that may look like with moving kids back and forth. Something to consider.
Is that east-west boundary with Muncie Road? Is that what that is?
North of McFarland is. It comes down to the interstate and then goes down to that drainage ditch about a mile, half mile down to the east and then down to Fairfield Road. Correct.
Even if a bond were to pass, we would likely need a couple of years in terms of the transition time for students, but we would still utilize probably both elementary schools. So even if we were to have a bond pass, it wouldn't necessarily mean all of a sudden we have to change the line or get rid of the line. That line may still have to exist because we still have to have two elementary schools. And the out of district kids, that was a total of 6. Is that right?
That are right here now.
2 from Topeka, correct?
Two
One from-
Topeka,
Go ahead.
2 from Alta Vista, and the others are from Wamena.
So if need be, in fairness, the Alta Vista could, so to change just 2 instead of 8, it would be 10, then difference in total student population between the 2. But wanted to put that out there, and thoughts on that?
Is that an action item or something we want to decide on?
We need to decide on it
At the
soon.
next-
Yeah.
following.
But, and since we just presented you the information, you can roll and think about it and do those kind of things.
It would be, with the transition we're already involved in, it would probably be a very good time. If that's for, we've talked, you brought this up ever since you've been in that position, that this was a viable option. So yeah, this is not the first time we've heard this.
questions around that?
I have a question.
Okay, Kelly?
I just want to make sure I listed the numbers correctly. So if you went with the red line, the enrollment at Mayville Elementary building projected 64 students to 82, is that correct?
Yes. All right. If there's no more feedback around that, then
Would you like that to be on the May agenda as an action item?
if that's what you guys need, I mean, I'm in favor of these types of moves if our leadership has discussed it, we've discussed it with our staffing, and that's what you all come to. Who am I to get in the way of that? I mean, I don't know that that's really what I am good at, making decisions based on running a school in that manner, so that's where I'm at. If it's good for you guys and it's good for your teachers, then I'm all for it.
I agree with that.
Appreciate it. It would be, needed to be, since changing a policy, that it would have to be a board action, but appreciate the thoughts for sure.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
that recommendation comes to me, like,
Yep.
this is what we need to do, then I'll sure
Perfect.
support it.
Okay, we'll have it on the May agenda.
Okay. Any other, let's see then, moving on then to information item, enterprise vehicle program.
I'm sorry, the missed one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought
That's
that we
good.
were already on that.
Yep,
No, we
sorry.
weren't. Yep, sorry, okay, investment grade audit.
Just that our next steps, they've provided, Brad Ray, in your board packet, has the next steps piece of that. It doesn't commit us to a energy performance contract, but what it does do is then allows us with the company that, as far as the FCIP verification, approval, etc., then we will have the information to have solid numbers that we start building. Then this is what it's going to cost, this is what it'll look like, and then making a determination on final guaranteed pricing for the things that we're doing as we move forward. And then after that, the next step would, the board approves the final energy performance contract.
So all we are asking them to do is get down to the hardcore numbers so we can.
Authorizing ESP to proceed with obtaining final pricing for the selected scope for the energy performance contract.
Any discussion around that? I so move to allow them to go to the next steps. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you for that, Brad.
You bet. And I'm sorry, I missed the second. Did you do it, Cheryl?
Tony seconded.
Okay, thank you.
I'm right here.
You're on my,
I didn't hear
you're on my bad, you're on my bad ear.
That's, I'm never glad.
All right, next item then is the enterprise vehicle program.
Just wanted you to the board to know that we're continuing, we've got some maintenance costs. We looked at, so we have an apples to apples comparison, what they can do as far as cost savings to the district and providing safe and reliable equipment for the school district. Obviously, there's some things that we have purchased that we wouldn't be involved with that. And that would be on a rotating then basis on down past the year. We determine if it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever we want to do, and then have the ability to then have newer equipment. And again, then should see lower maintenance costs, better gas, all those things. So they're putting an apples to apples comparison, and we'll hear about that on the 22nd of April. So we'll have hopefully something to bring to you in May. Because it is an issue with things that we continue to have. For instance, we put $1,000 in one of the vehicles, and the value, when you look up Blue Book value, is $1,500. Is that making sense for us to continue to do that? Those kind of things. So that's what will be in the coming forth in May. So.
Excellent, I like it.
Yeah.
Any questions around that? Moving on then, next is Emily Henderson and Melissa Watson.
Hi guys, I'm gonna come up here so I can see everyone.
Hi, Emily.
Yeah. Melissa Watson is gonna be hopping on Zoom here if she gets done with her training. She had a training tonight. But I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. I've wanted to get here for a while. I was on the agenda in the meeting where we shut everything down, so I'm happy to be here this year. So I currently serve as the school liaison for 329. I've been here since October of 2019. So I just wanted to hop on and come here to show you guys some of the data that we've worked on, some of the programming that we're doing here in the schools, and provide you guys with the opportunity to ask any questions about what we have going on. So here we have just kind of our circle of support. We're wanting to connect our families, our schools, and our community mental health center classrooms here in our towns, and provide more access to those rural communities. So if you want to go on to the next slide, Mr. Burns.
Be happy to.
Awesome. So these were some of our goals when we first got here. Number one, we wanted to provide access to care to our rural community. Even in Maple Hill, it can be 30 miles to get access to a mental health care facility, so we wanted to be able to provide that access to care here in our school buildings and reduce any of those barriers that might be in place for some of our families. We also wanted to enhance our connection, our communication, and our collaboration between Crosswinds and our school, as well as our teachers, our students, and our families that are participating in the program. We also wanted to build school and community engagement, and this was included in the Not One More presentation, some of the Yellow Ribbon initiatives. I helped sponsor that club, so I'm working a lot with students at the high school to help support mental health, and just working to create a network of support for our students, using all of our community and our school resources together. So I know you guys are data people. Show me why this works. Show me why this is good for students. So if you hit the next slide, Mr. Starnes. Every semester I submit a progress report to the State Department of Education. So this was our data in December, in May of 2020, and in December of 2020. So each student has the opportunity to be marked with 4 different indicators: attendance, behavior, academics, and internalizing behavior. So some of those things like feelings of anxiety, feelings of depression, some of those internal mental health concerns. So when I first got here, it was October of 2019. So in December of 2019, you can see where we were at. And we've progressed since then. Important things to note, we've been in the middle of a pandemic. So attendance and academic performance, those are some of the things that have been hard to track this semester. So we've been doing the best we can to make those informed decisions and reach as many students as we can. Do you guys have any questions about any of that data that is up there? And not every student is marked for every indicator. So if attendance is not a concern for that student, then we don't mark it as a concern for that student. These are just for the students that have these individual concerns. All right, next slide. So these are our students reached. This school year we've reached 122 individual students, so that doesn't include any of the classroom stuff that we do or any of the whole school approaches that we take. This is individual work with students to give you kind of a marker of where we are versus last year. Last year we reached 63 students in the entire year. This year we're at 122. There are 45 individual students that are engaging in ongoing services this year through Crosswinds. So in the 2019-2020 school year we had 12 additional students that were referred, and then this year we have 34 additional students that have been referred to the program. And so obviously we've had some students leave, some students graduate, all those great things, no longer need services. So that's how those numbers change. Hey, Emily.
Yeah, quick question. On the 122, how does that look between like grade levels?
I would say it's pretty even throughout the entire district. I wouldn't say that there's an area of need that is more consistent. I know at the high school we do have a counselor, so some of those concerns are able to be addressed at her. So we work to address all of the needs that we can. Later I'm going to go through the tiers and kind of where we're working. We're working from a tier 3 perspective right now. So up there with Annie Frank, our school social worker, she works with tier 3 students as well. Great. Did that answer your question? Great. Awesome. Okay, so this is a quote. Last year I presented to the KS Board of Education. I was asked as one of 2 programs in the state to come present on all of the cool things that were happening in our rural school district. So this was a quote that one of our teachers gave. We gave the opportunity for all of our teachers to give us some feedback. So I've been an early childhood educator for 5 years. In those 5 years, I found more and more need of social emotional skills being taught that the children are missing for one reason or another. This year I had the great privilege of having many services available to me. These services weren't just through Crosswinds, but also having a school liaison readily available for any needs I would have. As a teacher, I am in definite need of these services and cannot thank all who provide them and assist in teaching those skills enough. And then I also have 2 of our administrators who gave me some of their feedback. The knowledge and skills brought to the schools was invaluable. Being able to assess student and family needs made it easier for our school liaison to make referrals to the local mental health center. The relationship with our local mental health center was strengthened by ongoing communication and the referral process. When this program was built, it was a pilot, so we started from the ground up. This is something that we've built here to accommodate the needs of our rural school district. Adding this type of support and guidance that our students and our district needs, having a presence here in the community and here in the school at events, that's something that we've really strived to do this year. So, yeah. On the next slide, something that we're going to look into in the future. So, as you guys have heard, we're moving towards NTSS as a district. This is an example from TASN of mental health supports and how those would work for our students. So we have tier 1 at the bottom, that is supports that all students get. Because you're a student at USD 329, you deserve to have these supports in place. The next tier is tier 2, so those are some of our students. Those might be some individual interventions, some group interventions, looking at those progress monitoring things. And then tier 3 would be a few of our students. So intervention, support teams, school reentry if we need it, some crisis services in there. And then kind of dividing up what that might look like. This is from my KSDE handbook, so this is how a district separates those responsibilities between people who are working in the school district. Great. Do you guys have any questions on what any of that looks like?
So just looking at this, on a behavioral health team, the counselor is responsible for classroom-focused tier 1 and
Yes.
students. And then the tier 2 and 3 with some and few, then the social worker, which we have the SPED social worker with Annie.
Right, and right now on this chart over here, this district, the school liaison is referred to as a lot of different things. It's a pilot program right now. So behavioral health social worker is what they would call the school liaison.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're in that tier 2 and 3
Yes.
with some and few
Right,
students.
and this is absolutely not to say that the counselor does not ever do any crisis intervention or any suicide assessments, or that the SPED social worker doesn't do any of that. We definitely intertwine with some of those responsibilities sometimes. This is just an example that was put forth by KSD as to what this might look like once we move towards that tiered system of supports. Great. That's really what I wanted to share with you guys today, just some data about what's going on in the schools, and answer any questions that you guys may have about our program. Right now, the grant is in legislature right now, so we should know about mid-May. It'll be a pretty quick turnaround process if we want to reapply for that grant. We're hoping that it will move from a pilot to being an established program, so that would be really exciting for our schools. So yeah, I want to answer any questions if you have any.
Really good progress from where we started from. Brad's been keeping us abreast of what you've come up several times, and it's always good to hear about Emily. So
Yeah.
you're doing a good job, and we appreciate it. The numbers are showing it too. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
thank you.
I don't know if Melissa hopped on there or not, or if she wants to add anything.
I'm not seeing anything from her.
I know one thing that she wanted to talk about that I missed in the presentation is that we don't just provide therapy here at the schools. There are a lot of different services that Crosswinds provides here in our schools. So we have therapy, we have case management, we have attendant care, we also have emergency services if our kids need those. We have med clinic, all of those services are available to those families that are in the program and as we refer them through those processes. So.
And I'll echo Tony. I mean, we're very thankful for Emily and the relationship with Crosswinds. And you ask other school districts, they don't have this. I mean, this is a rare commodity and very thankful that we have it. And when we get into a little more of the information, Kansas Communities that Care survey, it really shows the need and the continued need of what they're doing. And obviously, they've got the data backing it up. Some things that we're doing up with going to the tiered system of support. that we as a school district will be doing with KSDE and moving forward with that, continue to meet that need. So it's something that is great for our school district, great for our kids and families, and just very thankful that the support that the state with the grant is provided, as well as the school district, and allowing all that to happen. So thank you, and the kids and families really thank you all. And thank you a lot.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Does the state provide a majority of the grant money for that?
Yes.
It was 75-25. And they also provide some grant funding to Prospect as well.
Yeah, it's a win-win for the community behavior group as well.
It helps us to have our school contracted case manager as well, Melissa Watson.
And I keep telling her that when she says presenting at KSDE and doing things, back off. I've told them again and again, back off. I know what they're after, and we want her here. So anyway.
Thank you.
She serves on state, a lot of things. So anyway, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I took your spot.
Alright. Excellent, then moving on to the resolution of approving
There's-
BOE.
Yeah, I've been sending you guys some stuff on legislative things happening. There's a Senate Bill 40 that there are hearings that can be requested by students, by parents of students, and/or by employees regarding specifics of things from the governor's office. Then within that, you have to have requirements for hearings, and the hearing officer and recommendation from Kansas Association of School Boards as well, to have the superintendent being the hearing officer versus having the whole board have to get together. Board still has to make a decision about those within a certain specific timeline, but it then frees up and allows you not all to have to be involved in that till that particular time. And so I would just be the hearing officer.
So just to clarify on that the hearing officer makes a decision, and then do we have to convene in that 7 days?
You do,
Okay, I was thinking, that was what I was reading.
right,
So we still
correct.
will
And-
have to go off, we're going off the hearing officer's recommendation.
And the situation is right now with us, it has to be within the last 30 days of a planned change. In other words, you guys as a board, we came and said, this is our reopening plan for our school district in August, July, August, when you guys approved that. That's not changed. So there was one change in November with the quarantine situation with the high school. If it's 30 days, if you make a change in 30 days, then you're open to exempt from that. You still have to have the hearing, but you're exempt in the sense that if somebody brings a case to the hearing officer, to the board, as a representative of the board, it would be null in the fact that we have to have it, but there's no decision change because it isn't within 30 days of a change in the reopening plan. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments around that? Seems pretty straightforward. Is there a motion then to make our superintendent our hearing officer?
I so moved.
Second.
Tony and Jim. All those opposed, please say aye. Motion carried. Other duties as assigned.
Put it on my resume.
All right, new guitar class.
Yeah, exactly.
This is gonna be on there too?
What's that?
This is gonna be on there too, the guitar class?
I am, yeah. I'm not, yeah. The next year, we'd like to have our current music instructor, Jamie Rogers. He taught for 6 years guitar previously in Mission Valley. And since it does involve, because typically, again, what happens board policies, you guys approve the schedule, and that's included in the student handbook. But if there's things that are gonna need to be purchased or personnel or things like that, then you go ahead and have to approve that prior to those type of things. We wanna have the class approved so that then we can move forward with the pre-enrollment piece. There has been some pre-enrollment, but the numbers aren't real accurate because students really don't know if the class is gonna be approved or not. It is no additional cost as far as personnel. So he would be taking on this guitar class and then also helping with 5th grade here in Alma Elementary because of the way of the travel and split. Peter Ruby would continue to have the 5th grade at Maple Hill while the 5th grade is here at Alma Elementary with Mr. Rogers being able to do that, and they've worked that out. So it would be too that we would have it, again, when you approve fees at the organizational meeting in July, we'd have a small fee adjusted to that so that over time, just like with the iPads, it would then help to recoup some of the costs for repair or some of the equipment. It also helps to have some skin in the game for people in regards to the equipment. He's asked for 4 guitars, the cost of $750 for the guitars and music, and then just asking for the approval of the board to move forward with this. I think it's a good thing, again, for our opportunity for our kids.
I move to approve the guitar class.
I second. All those opposed, say aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Great addition, I think. Thank you, Janie, if you're listening. Appreciate your push. All right.
Thank you.
Moving down into personnel.
I would like to have an executive session for 10 minutes if we could have that, if that's okay.
For which one?
I'm sorry, for non-elected personnel.
Okay.
I move we go into executive session to discuss individual employee performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:10.
Second.
All those opposed, please say aye. Motion carried. We'll be back.
My office is open.
Shut her down.
Thank you.
moving on then with employment. Hold on, I'm looking. Come on,
Is that on there like that?
I think what I would, so I would like to make a motion to approve employment as submitted, but I am going to go through those submissions. Okay?
Sure.
So if there is a second, then I'll go through those submissions as they're listed on the sheet. Does that make sense?
I'll second
Okay.
it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel submitted as one, approving the substitute teacher Braden Sundberg, approving the substitute classified bus driver Steve Lira, approving the Alma Elementary 4th grade teacher hire of Emily Garrett, approve the bus driver Philip Wildmauer. To approve the substitute teacher classified sub of Matthew Althoff.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are accepting the resignations of the Maple Hill Elementary Library media tech Shelby Hollenbeck. We're approving the resignation of a substitute teacher Kip Kress. We are approving the transfer of duties of Carrie Rosine from Paxton Middle School to 5th grade at Maple Hill. Brooke Jansen from Alma Elementary School 4th grade to Alma Elementary School 5th grade. And Trevor Keller from the junior high assistant football coach to high school assistant football coach. And then are we adding anything?
We
or
need
that's
to have
the
that
motion?
motion. Did we do the motion, Gary? With that?
I just
He's
gave you the
just
motion, so we're getting ready to vote for it right now.
Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to make sure I didn't miss
So
anything.
are we adding anything, or is that coming next month?
Yeah, I would like to, if you want to support that,
Did you-
find out one way or the other, yeah.
did you-
So should we make that a separate
Sure.
motion? Okay, so right now, motion is as stands, that I just named those off as submitted. Okay? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Kelly, are you on?
I see her mic moving, but
We don't hear her.
Is she muted?
All right,
no,
are you muted,
she's
Kelly?
on. I can see her mic right there. No, she isn't. The little microphone is still there.
Yeah, but it was.
Jerome, there's a motion on the table of approving the employment as submitted on your sheet here. I went through and named them all off, but on your sheet.
She says, she messaged, I vote yes.
Okay.
Direct
Okay, so
message.
right now, we
Thank you.
have 5 votes. Would you like to vote on this? And that's 6. Motion carried. Okay, and then I would like to make a motion to approve a K-6 counselor position, pre-K through 6. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve a pre-K through 6 counselor position for USD 329. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
What's Kelly's vote?
I haven't seen it yet.
All right. Kelly voted yes.
She voted that before.
No, it's,
I just,
that's the second one, isn't it?
I'm just asking her again.
Yeah, he's asking, just give us a
Yes,
second.
she said yes.
Okay. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right. Superintendent forum.
Just wanted to let you know that have given you all the information about the Kansas Communities that Care survey results. And just that there continues to be, the Sheriff Rob had mentioned before at community meetings, 5 times the national average of suicide for our county. And this information, again, I've talked about it being valid and reliable, the sense that the survey has the ability to separate out those that are just lying and take that information out and not have it counted. But we continue, if you look at this, here the first thing, seriously ever thought about killing yourself? Yes, in the past year, 18.26, and that's a percentage of 6th, 8th, and 10th and 12th graders, which is significantly higher than the county and the state.
And that is a percentage of all the kids in our district, or all the kids that responded to this survey?
Responded to
And
this.
how many kids responded to this survey?
6, 8, 10, and 12, 200 and
270 some is what I thought I read.
probably, something like that. There, I can pull up the response, numbers of responses. The other thing that bullied through texting, social media, or gaming, at least regularly 1 or 2 times a week, 6.84, compared to the county 5.53, compared to the state 5.67, from 2017 through 2021. During the past 12 months, have you been bullied at school regularly 1 or 2 times a week? This actually has gone down for us and is below the county and state averages, which is a good sign. And another thing that we want to know, what do adults do at school when they see bullying? And the response, stop it and solve the problem. And we are 37.07% of our students say adults would stop it and solve the problem. It's lower than the county, a little lower than the state. In 2020, it was as high as 57%. So we do have people that will do something about it. Again, and then more specifically, have you ever tried to kill yourself? Yes, in the past 30 days. 2.59% of our students that took the assessment say they've tried. And then, have you ever tried to kill yourself? Yes. Again, 12.93 at any point in time percentage, which is significantly higher than those in the county and the state. Made a plan. Again, 19.83%, higher than the county, lower than the state average. But again, it's information that we want to really continue to keep track of and address as much as possible. So very thankful for all your support in regards to social, emotional, mental health. And we'll continue to look. And I would, again, like made reference to, take a look. There's a lot of information in there about what's causing it, and can we see through with, is it alcohol, is it other drugs, is it all those things that are in it, but specifically with our county and the things that have happened, the national averages, wanted just to give you the information and us make data-driven decisions on what we're doing. So. The second thing is Paxco Middle School, Crossroads Realty had worked with them. They came out several times. They used the square footage, the letter that's in your board packet, to determine what the unit would be, or excuse me, what Paxco Middle School possibly could be valued at. And they believe that the greatest ability for that as an asset as a storage unit, and the value was determined at $100,000. So that gives us a gauge if and when we decide to sell it. Administratively, we feel like recommendation is to wait to sell it until we see what happens with the prospective bond in November. Because if we have to move kids or situations, we need to have that asset and have that available to us. It also allows us some time to get things out. So the things that we want to, like the 5th graders coming to the elementaries, we need whiteboards. We need this, we need that. Getting all that stuff out and getting it in place. Thank you for the substitute classified person, but that would be Freddie and Matt doing that, and that's the only 2 we would have for mowing and for doing this as well. So that's the plan, and again, that we have a value.
Crossroads had that value with the modulars.
With, yeah, with and without, I believe is the.
They thought it'd be about the same without or with. I mean, I can't imagine that they're gonna add a whole lot of value.
Yeah, and thanks, Tony, for pointing it out, because we're not gonna, right now, initially, we talked about moving them up to the junior high,
Yeah.
but that's, again, an added expense, and again, if we aren't, quote, going to need them, or whatever, if we have to move kids out, Steve and his staff have done a good job of determining where locations are, and working on building a schedule to meet that need. And so we don't need that at this point, other than selling the 1 modular, which will be on Purple Wave the 25th of May. So if you have an interest in a modular, and then them getting it out of there. But we wouldn't have to, again, move something up there, which we thought we were going to have to do.
Yeah, I just read it.
Yeah.
It was with it.
Yeah, but you're right, it does say that with and without. Mhm. One of the things they also mentioned in here is if we decide to sell it, their professional opinion would be to have the option at the property. So, that everybody has equal opportunity. I know we declared it a surplus so that it would be in competition, and I've talked to them about that. But as I said, once it's sold initially, then you don't have that again. And so the ability, if you said that we wanted to put in there that we have a reserve of 100,000, if that's what we want to choose to do, we could do that. So, and the possibility, if there's equipment or other things included in the building, they would be able to auction them off all at the same time. Crossroads or whoever we would choose. That's all I have, sir.
Your own, you guys?
Do we have outside groups that want to use facilities after school adjourns for the year?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Do we have outside groups?
Yeah.
That want to use facilities after school adjourns for the year?
At the end of this school year?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna
Yes.
discuss that next meeting, we're gonna change the policy?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's it, except I don't want to get into the situation where, and this is not this subject exactly, where we start to hear the guidance that we need to start next school year for just a month with masks, and then we get in the middle of September and it becomes, well, we should really go 1 more month just to be safe, and then we get, well, we should really go to Christmas. I think if we're gonna fight it, we need to start fighting it at the end of this year. Otherwise, we're just gonna get rolled over by the health professionals and their guidance, because they have nothing to lose. The job included, when they do a bad job, there are no consequences, unlike some of the other stuff here. And I just don't wanna let it go. Oh, and I don't want everybody to think, reasonable people on board to think, oh, we're not gonna be wearing masks next year. I'm not gonna worry about that. I think we need to fight that off sooner rather than later, because you're gonna hear the suggestions creep up, like I said. That's it.
Next meeting, though, we've got a new reopening plan.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
cool.
Yeah, that is. Thank you.
Okay. Tony? Good?
Brad, just in response to the survey results for the
Yeah.
community site care, I mean, across the board, across the country, mental health is just, it's awful with our kids. So I just am really grateful that our district went full-time, reopened as planned, because if we hadn't, those numbers would be higher. So I'm just really grateful that we did that.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly, and for the board's support of us doing that when we did. So, and it literally took everybody, from you all, the administration, teachers, staff, everybody, students, parents, everybody. So,
And they're even seeing data now kids that are just now starting to go back
Mhm.
are now having severe anxiety and mental health problems about going back to school now. So, I mean, it's just going through the roof, the mental health. So I'm just so glad that we stayed the course, did what we needed to do, and that our numbers are not wonderful, but they could have been a lot worse.
Thank you. Yeah, good point.
And I think I'm glad we're doing this because it raises awareness for all of us, like me. That was the biggest thing, whether those are good or bad numbers. The awareness was not with me. I didn't have that mentality, so I like to know it. Kelly, is she still on? Does she have any comments? We'll leave her out, but maybe her voice deal isn't working. Other than that, I do not have any either. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Jerome?
I'll move.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, this meeting is adjourned.
Did Kelly chime in?
She said, I don't think you can hear me. Thanks.